Let me just start off by saying I did not grow up watching this movie. I was born a year after it came out, and when it came to Nickelodeon as a kid, I was really only interested in the cartoons, or in this case, I guess, the Nicktoons. And that also goes for Disney Channel. You know, I didn't have cable growing up. I only ever got it during the summer when we stayed at my grandma's house, and I don't really remember watching any of the live-action shows on Nick or Disney, and also I have not read the book that this is based on, and that's really saying I've never seen this movie before today. So that's just to give you context. I don't have nostalgia for it. I'm reviewing this movie as an almost 25-year-old man, and I hated it. I liked the first 20 minutes, but as soon as Rosie O'Donnell leaves, the movie really starts to go downhill, and I really don't like Rosie O'Donnell that much either. So when she's the best part of the movie, you know the movie is awful. You know, the biggest problem with this movie is that, again, apart from Rosie O'Donnell, there isn't a single likable character in this entire thing. The main character, and I do not care that the main character is a child, she is a narcissistic, sociopathic little brat. Her friends aren't much better, and the entire movie just revolves around this eye for an eye mentality. You know, the main character, Harriet, you know, as the title implies, thinks of herself as a spy, but she's not even really a spy. She just uses that as an excuse to write incredibly mean things about her friends and neighbors in this notebook. And one day her peers find it, and rather than apologize in that moment, which would have ended this movie very quickly, and would have ended on a sweet no. She decides, no, I need to humiliate them even further. And this entire second half of this movie is just kids being extremely petty and being bullies to each other the whole movie. And by the time the movie reaches its conclusion, the lesson, and if you can even call it that, feels very thin, very shallow, and I don't even think she learns anything. She just goes back to spying at the end. But behind this movie, I'd say it actively encourages bad behavior. We're expected to root for an extremely unlikable character who doesn't even accept the consequences for her actions or even see what she did wrong. You know, I was hoping when she goes to the psychologist towards kind of the second half of this movie, and she asks her parents, oh, what did the psychologist say? I was hoping they would say, well, based on his diagnosis, you're a sociopath, because she totally is. She never learns anything. The side characters aren't much better either. They're all little brats, too. You know, it's kind of weird that Nickelodeon is the studio that made this movie, since at the time this movie came out, you know, not so much anymore. I think, you know, streaming has kind of undertaken it, but, you know, the pre-streaming era, early 90s, early 2000s, Nickelodeon was thought of, at least according to them, as the number one network for kids. But I absolutely would not let my kid watch this movie because I'd be afraid they learned the wrong lessons from it. I'd be afraid they learned to be incredibly disrespectful to authority. They learned that it's okay to bully your friends, to get revenge on them, to write mean, petty things about them because, oh, you think it's private in your own journal and no one's going to see it. It's okay to write mean things. Like, no. They're going to pick up the wrong lessons from it. That's what I'd be afraid of. There's no redeeming value to this film. I'm sorry. I'm sorry to start this month off on such a negative review, but I have to give my honest thoughts. And don't worry, there are some Nickelodeon movies that I like, and we'll get to those when we get to those, but my word, I hated this film. Yeah, so I unfortunately have to give this movie the very rare grade. I hardly ever give a movie this grade, but I have to give it an F. I hardly ever give a movie Fs, but yeah, an F, a 0 out of 10, and a 0 out of 5, which is incredibly rare for me. So you know I hated this movie. So yeah, anyway, let me know what you guys thought of this movie you grew up with. Are you mad that I hate this movie so much? Did you look back on this and go, yeah, this movie does suck now because I'm an adult, but as a kid, I don't know. Let me know what you thought. Let me know kind of where you're coming from, what your age range is. I'll see you next time. Hopefully the next one I review, which I think is Good Burger, which I've also never seen, hopefully that one's a lot better.